Okay, watch and listen carefully here, guys. So for our first one here, we have an acceleration problem. Okay, and the acceleration problem is that someone is rolling backwards down a hill. Okay, and they get the car started, and then they start moving back up the hill. Right? We're trying to find out what the final velocity will be. Okay, so here's what we have in this question. They are initially rolling down the hill at 1.3 meters per second, so that'll be our VI. Okay, I'm going to write negative 1.3 meters per second, and then the car produces an acceleration of positive 2.5 meters per second, okay, or up the hill, meters per second squared, and then we're looking for the velocity, VF, okay, after 4 seconds. All right, so 1 mark for Gibbons. Okay. It's our easy change in velocity over change in time formula. So A equals VF minus VI, okay, over T. All right, so 1 mark if they chose that. We need to manipulate it for VF. So we're going to multiply both sides by T and then add VI to both sides. So we'll have VI plus T times A equals VF. Okay, what did I make this out of 5? Okay, so give them a mark for that. Okay, and then with numbers plugged in, we're looking at negative 1.3 plus 4 seconds times 2.5. Give them a mark for that. Okay, and so we should end up with, so negative 1.3 plus 4 times 2.5. I can't believe I just typed that in. That's 10. Okay, 8.7 meters per second uphill for their 5th and final mark. 2 significant figures, okay, and they must have uphill to get that mark. Questions on number 1? All right. Okay, so for question number 2, okay, this was an exam question 2 years ago. Okay, this was the question on the unit exam 2 years ago. All right, so this is exactly the kind of thing that I would give you, okay, on a unit exam. All right, we have 12 meters east, okay, and then we have 7.55 meters at 40 degrees west of south. All right, so here is south, all right, and then we have west of south, okay, about 40 degrees, right, something like that. So this is 7.55 meters. This is 40 degrees west of south. Okay, this would be our y component. This would be our x component. Okay, and then our resultant looks like this. One mark for their diagram. Okay, if they drew the triangles separately, that's also fine. So if they have just the line and then they have a triangle separate from that, I'm also okay with that because the separate triangle method is the other way we looked at doing that. Okay, so first vector, okay, second vector. Now, next step in this is we have to find the x and y components of the 12 meter vector and the 7.55 meter vector. Okay, so we got to find x and y. It's easy for the 12, okay, because for our 12 meter vector, its x component is how big? 12 meters. It only goes horizontally. It's 12 meters east. And its y component is 0 because it doesn't go north or south. Right? So that one's easy. For the red line, the x component of our red line is the opposite side of this triangle. So we're going to go sine of 40, okay, times 7.55. So sine of 40, 7.55. That gives us 4.853 meters, and that's west. Okay, and I know it's west because this is going west of south, right? So that's west. And this one here will be south. I'm looking for y now. It's adjacent to the 40 degree angle. So I'm going to find it using cosine. So the cos of 40 times the hypotenuse, 7.55. Yeah, it goes 40 times 7.55. All right, so that side is 5.784 meters south. All right, so here's their marks on this one. Give them 1 mark for the X and Y here because they didn't have to do any calculating, they just identified these. Okay, 1 mark each for red X and red Y. Okay, so we're up to 4 marks. Next thing we have to find are green X and green Y. All right, and we talked about how the other day, okay, to get green X, or to get our resultant X component, we take the 2 X's, so 12 meters east, and our 4.85 meters west, and we add them together. Well, actually, in this case, we're going to subtract because one is east and one is west. Okay, so for green X, that's going to be 12 meters east minus 4.85 meters, 8.3 meters east, or sorry, west. Okay, and that will give us our green X. So 12 minus 4.8530463. Okay, so we're looking at 7.147 meters on that one. Okay, and that is going to be east. And then they can have a mark for that because they actually had to do a calculation there. And then what's green Y? Right, it's the same as red Y because that's the only time the object went south. Okay, the only time the object went south is in this one. It didn't go south in the 12 meter. Okay, so it's going to be 5.784 meters south. Okay, they won't get a mark for that one because they didn't have to do any calculating for that one. They already did that. Okay, so now our next step, now that we have green X and green Y, is, okay, we now know the sides of this triangle. So now we're going to look for the magnitude of D, and then we're going to look for the direction of D. All right, so the magnitude of D is Pythagorean theorem. So that'll be our 7.147 squared plus our 5.784 squared. Okay, so our magnitude of our displacement is 9.19, 9.19 we'll say, okay, 9.19 meters, and then we have to find theta. Okay, so theta, I'm going to use x over y, opposite over adjacent, so I'm going to go tan to the minus 1 of x, which we said was 7.147, divided by 5.784, and that will give me this angle here. Okay, so we're getting an angle of 51.0 degrees. And for me, that's going to be east of south. Okay, so give them a mark for the Pythagorean theorem calculation. Give them a mark for this calculation of the direction. Losing track of what we're up to now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're up to 7, right? I made that of 8. Okay, that means our final answer to the right number of significant figures is, okay, we only have 2 significant figures here. No, we have 3 significant figures here. Okay. It'll be fine. I'm going to write that as the other answer. Okay. All right. So we are going to have an answer of 9.19 meters at 51.0 degrees east of south, okay? Or they may have drawn the triangle the other way and gotten 39.0 degrees south of east. Either one of those is correct, okay? That is their 8th and final mark. If, make sure you check this, guys, that if they have the 51, it's east of south. And if they have the 39, it's south of east. The directions have to match the angle. All right, that one is out of 8. All right, so the whole quiz is out of 13 marks. Please give them a mark out of 13 at the top. Let them see it, and then I would like them handed in right here, please.